Fujitsu Forum in Munich is one of Europe's largest technology events. It attracts over 12,500 attendees flying from over 80 countries. We've come to listen to insightful keynotes and see firsthand examples of how Internet of Things is positively impacting every industry. We're going to explain what digital co-creation is and why every C-suite operative should know about it.
It's the bringing together of the customer and their business people and their business environment, particularly frontline staff.
We caught up with Fujitsu's head of marketing in the UK, Chris Patton, and we asked him what do people gain from attending Fujitsu Forum and what can be expected from the two-day event.
Well, I think first of all, we've seen some really incredible sessions yesterday covering a wide range of topics around technology, from AI to IoT, Industry 4.0. Lots of great industry breakout sessions really covering off those key challenges that a lot of our customers are facing, particularly around digitalization and how they address the challenges that come with that to not only make themselves more efficient and more effective, but how they really drive competitive advantage, and really looking at how they should be working with ecosystems, with partners, in addition to Fujitsu, to really drive some effective collaboration to hit some of those challenges and drive forward and get that all important competitive advantage that we need to see.
And what about personalisation? Is it now important to businesses?
Definitely, and I think we're now in the age where through digital technologies we can achieve that. I mean, I don't know if you saw Rolf's keynote yesterday talking about Industry 4.0 and how we're now at a position where we can personalise at mass through digital channels, and more importantly our customers are expecting us to personalise as well for them, and really it's about customers, and they are driving the demand through our customers. So it's our customers who are really driving the change and are acting as a catalyst for organisations to have to step up and provide these services that consumers really expect.
And what about innovation? With customer expectations at an all-time high, how are Fujitsu unlocking and empowering their creative talent?
Yeah, well, we've got a long history of being really human-centred. What we need to do and what we are doing is trying to unlock that potential in our own people so that we can deliver co-creation, transformational journeys with our customers. And there are a range of ways in which we do that, but one particular way that we've started to do that is to use some design techniques that we've brought in from Japan. We've just announced the introduction of a digital transformation centre, which is a great interactive environment where people are given permission to act differently.
Brilliant.
We encourage people to dress differently. We encourage people to act out of role and start considering things that they know from their own personal life, their own home life, and start to bring that into the workplace to then inform both their own creativity and to challenge maybe the status quo of the way in which we're currently thinking about a particular problem or challenge.
That's fascinating, because there's a debate around whether creativity needs to be bought in or whether creativity will be there within your business. It's the ways of working and the empowerment that you give your team to which the degree is unlocked. These new practices, sounds like it's exciting times for those that are going to be working across these programs, being empowered to go and think differently and challenge a status quo. That's interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think people maybe have waited for permission, but I think what we're starting to see is a bit of a culture shift where people are being encouraged to take risks, to act differently, and to role model maybe some of the behaviours that they've wanted to see for quite some time. And we can see that in some really simple things about the business dress that people wear. We can see it at places like Fujitsu Forum, where we have a live hackathon going on, where we've got developers right at the front of our show demonstrating their technical capability rather than hidden from our customers, because our technologists are absolutely critical to our co-creation story. And if we see in how they're working, how they're operating, that encourages everybody to be able to maximise, make the most of their own skills.
With partners clearly benefiting from Fujitsu's collaborative approach to business, how are customers benefiting from digital co-creation, and what does this message mean to their business?
I mean, it's actually quite simple in many ways. It's the bringing together of the customer and their business people and their business environment, particularly frontline staff, in a kind of a creative environment. So oftentimes off-site, maybe in one of our innovation centres or somewhere kind of a creative environment with our industry consultants and our technical people, and kind of looking at the challenges that they face and almost like hackathon style coming up with what can we do, what are the options to solve those business problems. Some of them are technology related, but we're open to an ecosystem approach as well. And in that kind of creative sort of soup, as it were, ideas emerge. And the value to us is we get great insights into the customer's business, which is the value to the customer is they get as insight into what's happening in other sectors, adjacent sectors, very different sectors, and then obviously access to emerging technology, new thinking. And I've been involved myself in a number of these, and it's a very energetic experience actually. And it takes people away from, I suppose, in a way, the day job and the kind of operational view of the world into a world of possibilities. And ideas emerge from that I don't think if we did a more traditional approach, it would work.
That's really interesting, and that's a point that's been echoed by a lot of the Fujitsu staff we've spoken to today. And it's quite apparent that everything's bespoke for your customers. It's not a solution for customer A can then be applied to customer B. You really do look at the individual problems and then look at the solutions on a case-by-case scenario, don't you?
Yeah, well, I think it's very important because, there's so many nuances in an organisation. There's the culture of the organisation, there's the reward systems of the organisation, there's their customers or the citizens that they serve. So it isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of approach anymore. And at the heart of digital transformation is this kind of collision that's happening between the physical world and the digital world. And that changes from situation to situation. I mean, the challenge for all of us is everything can be digitalized now. You can put sensors on things, you can put tags on, everything can be digitalized. So you can create a digital image of every physical item that exists in the value chain. The question is, what should you digitalize? What business processes should you change as a result of that digitalization? How do you bring your staff, your employees and your customers or citizens on that journey with you? So it's quite bespoke because it kind of has to be.
So the opportunities are endless, and it's about impacting your world with the right digital solutions. But what about physical environments? For example, retail. How is digital positively impacting those propositions?
What most retailers, in fact, haven't really understood is the different needs that physical and digital can fulfill for a consumer, right? Most retailers have really focused on price, on convenience, and those are the things Amazon are great at, right? And that's why Amazon's gone from 10 billion to 140 billion in the last 10 years, right? Now, but actually as consumers, we also want things like advice. Where's Amazon's answer on that? And when you want advice, that's when actually physical retail and the trust in physical retail starts becoming important, right? So actually blending it to fit what the consumer needs is really important. And that's just really at the top level of consumer needs. At the unconscious level of consumer needs, a lot of what we buy is not driven by price, convenience, or even advice. It's driven by who we think we are, right? That's why we shop that place. That's why I buy that car and not that car. Yep. It's by belonging, identity, and again, those things are better driven in a physical environment. But what it means is a store is fundamentally different now. It's not a stock room with some nice pictures and people in it. It actually becomes a place of connection, of belonging, identity, of advice, of trust, and a place to surprise your customers as well. Because the problem with a website is that it's very customer driven. That's how you drive conversion. So it doesn't often have many surprises in there. But in a physical environment, you can surprise people, you can delight people, and again, that keeps people sticky. Right? So I think that a smart retailer now has to be thinking about their proposition in that way and thinking about those different places being good for different parts of the delivery to that customer of much more than a product.
Fujitsu are impacting virtually every industry with their digital co-creation philosophy, and they're delivering tangible results across the board. So why is Fujitsu thriving in the age of Internet of Things?
Fujitsu has a unique end-to-end solution when it comes to IoT, especially when we think about kind of the wearable technology through our IoT platform, and then offering the interface at the other end. But with all of the IoT solutions, it's really about the value of data. So it's about what can we do with that data once it's been collected. Now, actually, that gives us a huge round of opportunities, whether that be for a business to look at how they optimise things, or whether it be an insurance business to understand the levels of risk and how to mitigate risk. And once you have that insight and learning, then we can begin to look at the business case and how those insurance premiums could be sat against it.
What's the opportunity for Internet of Things? How impactful and how far could IoT go within the insurance market? I'm assuming we're nowhere near the kind of plateau point yet. It sounds like it's in its infancy.
Yeah, so I think IoT we've talked about for many years. IoT previously big data, and we probably talk about it as a fourth wave being AI, but actually it's all data. It's all about what we're doing with that data. So IoT is just the connection of people, information and things. So actually, once we're collecting that data using some form of analog collection point, whether that be a wearable or any other form of sensor in the particular environment, once we've got that data, we can do whatever we want with it. And actually, that will continue to progress as we collect it and understand how we can harness that data, and then begin to apply it into deep machine learning and AI and other things. So that will just continue to evolve, if you like, rather than there's not going to be a new revolution around IoT. We might have another name for it as it begins to progress, as we have done over many years, but actually it's just an evolution of that collection and gathering of data.
With virtually every business on the planet being challenged with their digital transformation journey, just how quickly can C-suite expect to see a return on their investment?
I think some of the simple examples that we've got in the factory ourselves, just where they're being bolder in what we do, being bolder in the business case, thinking sort of bigger outside of the box, having a bigger vision about actually what the business case might be. And some of those are the things like the move from paper to e-ink. Now, it might be a simple move, but actually the business case, if you think at it in some ways, doesn't stack up. But as soon as you've got an e-ink device on some components on parts of the factory, and they're actually collecting data as well as displaying data, the business case there sort of like was just for the e-ink sort of device was a sort of a 6-year payback. Nobody would do it. But as soon as that becomes part of the sensors and the data that you're collecting in the factory, we found that actually the ROI, the time sort of to recover your investment, was down at 6 months. So certainly, just by making that e-ink a sensor as well as a display, completely transformed. And those things are really exciting. Starting small, thinking big, learning, and actually learning how to scale from that.
So there's lots of insight being shared at this year's Fujitsu Forum. But if there was one key message for C-suite viewers, what would it be?
I would say to them, please don't talk about technology to the business. I go to lots of retail conferences now, and I'm fortunate enough to keynote even at some of those. But what the common message I'm hearing is, we would have asked IT to do this, but they got a roadmap. It'd been 2-3 years away, right? Because IT works in a world of certainty. IT is bounded by its systems. It works in a bounded environment of an organisation. And you want A and B to stick together, they work. This is how a CIO thinks, this is how technologists think. Retail is unbounded. It's a mess, it's woolly. We don't know how much we're going to sell tomorrow, and you're thinking about something 6 months. And so that disconnect in just simple language and behaviour and expectation has actually created a wall that doesn't need to be there. And once I raise that awareness with retail business and the CIOs I work with, we find it really easy to take that wall down. Because there's an understanding there which has long been a misunderstanding. Because the business is going, you're not fast enough, and the CIO is going, yeah, but you want everything perfect, and you won't talk to me enough. And the business won't talk to you enough because they work in uncertainty. They haven't got the answers. But once you've got the understanding, you can build that relationship. And that is the most critical piece.
So that's it. We've listened to impactful keynote We've observed firsthand the positive impact of digital co-creation, and hopefully we've opened your eyes to new opportunities in your industry. Thanks for watching.